Hey, listeners, and welcome to the You Are Epic podcast. This is where we honor the people who've helped build not just our industry, but our communities. I'm Angela Hucker, and I am so glad that you're here. So, I'm taking the time to sit down with people who've been in construction for years, people who've been through the ups, the downs, and everything in between. You're going to hear real stories of resilience, growth, and moments that shaped who they are. This podcast is for those that want to learn more from people who've been walking this path for some time, and they're helping to lift up others and quietly making a difference along the way. It's also to show you that your journey matters and your voice matters. And in case you've forgotten, you are epic. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Gladys Woods, General Manager of Corporate Governance and HR at Haslin Constructions and a corporate strategist with decades of experience in the construction industry. Since Haslin Constructions started in 1991, she has been instrumental in driving the company's transformation from a small operation into one of Australia's leading mid-tier contractors. A graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors and a board member of both the National Civil Contractors Federation and Civil Contractors Federation New South Wales boards, Gladys has championed governance, ESG innovation, and gender diversity, earning recognition, including the prestigious CCF President's Award. So thank you so much for joining us, Gladys. It's such an honour to have you with us.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Angela. I'm really happy to be here today.
Thank you. So, one question I always love to start with all of our guests is, for someone who's been in the industry since 1991, which is quite some time, I'm curious to know, how did you get started in this industry?
Okay, it's a bit of a story. So if I go on into too much detail, please say, okay, we need to move on because it's been a long 30, nearly 35 years.
Wow.
My husband started his own civil contracting business in 1991. He was is a civil engineer. He had gotten to the top of the tree in the T1s, and it was the Leightons at the time, and he was looking to do his own thing. So at the time, I was teaching in a selective school. I had a particular interest in gifted and talented education. I'd done a master's degree in gifted and talented education. And I said to him, look, I'll muck in and help you out because really it was only a thought bubble. There was no office, no work, no assets. It was just starting this business.
Yes.
Um, and I said, yeah, not having the slightest idea what I was getting myself into. He said, yeah, we can run a business. We'll work it out along the way. And he won his first job, which was a $200,000 car park at the ABC studios at Ultimo.
Wow.
And he got a supervisor and kicked off and started tendering madly anything that came out in those days it was in the newspaper, the tenders that would come out in the
Yeah.
paper, Sydney Morning Herald on a Wednesday, tendered like crazy. We eventually got a very dodgy little office in Caringbah, which is now like a very questionable massage centre.
Right.
So it wasn't a very salubrious beginning, let me tell you.
Yeah.
$200 a week rent for the little office. And basically, I was teaching full time at that time, but Cole would call me constantly. Oh, we need this. We need an ABN. I need a payroll. We need an HR person, but we only had a few employees, so I ended up having all of these hats.
Mm.
Pardon me. So if we were recruiting, I would be the HR hat, be writing contracts and interviewing people. If it was payday, I'd be the payroll, the accounts person. Um, if it was an IT thing, because computers started to come into the picture in the 90s.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, well, okay, we need to learn about this. We need to get computers. We need to work out payroll tax. What's that? There's just so much to running a business.
Yes.
it had nothing to do with the engineering or the tendering side. That
Mm.
bit seemed to be quite easy. It was all the other stuff. And basically when I was at the office, the phone would ring and they'd say, "Oh, can we speak to accounts?" "Hold on, I'll put you through." Speaking. So it was such a learning curve, and it was actually a lot of fun because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like I workers' compensation, work injuries,
Mm.
um, contracts, all sorts of things, and HSEQ also started to come into the industry in that era. And all of a sudden, we were being asked for site safety plans, environmental management plans, and of course, there was no one who had a clue. So I'd take myself off to the public works and do the EMS course so I could write an environmental management plan.
Mm.
So it was a case of just whatever the next thing is. Oh, we need this accreditation. Okay, how do we get that?
Mm.
We find someone in government who can explain how we go about doing this. And it was easier then because things were simpler.
Mm.
Now there is so much red tape and green tape and pink tape that I couldn't imagine doing what we did. I could not imagine doing it now.
Mm.
But back then it was construction was rough, and there was no safety on sites. The,
Mm.
the blokes walked around in little footy shorts
Yeah.
and sometimes a singlet in the winter.
And thongs.
And thongs around, and the mind boggles when I think back then.
Yeah.
A hilarious story. It's not really relevant to anything, but I always think of this moment. Haslin won the contract to build the library at the school I was teaching at,
Wow.
and so here's me. I was ordering the little footy shorts for people because I was also
Yeah.
the
Yes.
clothing person. And so our supervisor was out on the site in the library, which was right adjacent to my classroom. So I'm in the classroom teaching Shakespeare to year 12, and he wanders past and spots me and starts waving furiously. And all he had on was his little tiny shorts, and he had one of these big goatee beards, and then he started to try and wave to the year 12 girls through the window.
Oh, yes. Yes.
and was and they're saying, "Miss, do you know him?" I'm like, "Never seen him." Never seen him before. It was like I had these two worlds, and all of a sudden they were colliding at my classroom
I,
window.
yeah.
Because I was like, I'd have my teaching hat, and then I go, "Okay, I'm going to Haslin tomorrow." So it was kind of fun when I think back. I didn't actually think about it at the time. It was just like when you're younger, I think you just do things
Yeah.
and think this is a
Especially in that moment as well, because you were kind of learning on the fly as well.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'd go, oh, when we had an injured worker, I had to learn the whole workers' comp side of things, that return to work, rehabilitation.
Mm.
And that was a whole other world as well. And so it was just a big learning curve that first 10 years. And the
Mm.
company grew quite quickly um, because starting from scratch, we would tender anything and everything,
Mm.
particularly really complex jobs that a lot of other people who weren't as hungry would leave alone. So
Mm.
we developed a reputation for being able to deliver really complex jobs, even though they were small at the time,
Mm.
which we gave us a great reputation amongst public works
Mm.
and the other government agencies. So by the end of that first decade, we had really established ourselves with a very good reputation and a good CV across the water sector, the road sector, public space, rail. So and the reason for that was we would just take whatever we could get
Yeah.
when you're not established, you're not on any government panels.
Yeah.
You might win one out of 30 tenders. Now, that's a lot of work just to
Yeah.
get one job. And whatever it was, we took it, which in hindsight, has really stood our company in good stead because now we have expertise across nearly every construction sector. We
Mm,
don't do a lot of commercial building anymore. We used to. Since about 2005, thereabouts, we've only ever worked for government,
mm,
not developers, but so that that's kind of the trajectory of the business. But by 2000, we actually bought a really nice bigger office. We'd attracted, so we moved out of the that dingy little office. Not that it was flash by any means. It was in the Sutherland Shire, and we'd also started to attract some great talent into the business. And that's, I guess by then I had realized the key to a successful business is people.
mm,
People are gold. Developing their talent,
mm,
retaining them, allowing them to flourish has been the key, one of the key things in the business to me. But that was also something we had to learn along the way because when we were small and starting out, we couldn't attract great people at times. We
mm.
had to take who came along because we weren't a CPB, we weren't a John Holland.
Yeah.
And so we we had some appalling people
Mm,
back in that first decade, culturally appalling.
yeah.
And that was hard
Yeah.
because, and it was also another era. It was the era of there were no women in construction.
Mm,
Women generally in society were second-class citizens. They often, in my generation of women, often didn't work after they got married.
mm.
And people look at me when I say that, and I'm like, no,
That's what
that's
happened.
true.
Yeah.
So many women my age who I know through my children being at school or whatever, worked in the bank for 6 months, got married at 19, and have not worked since.
Mm,
So the fact that for me, I was perceived as, oh, the wife's helping her husband out around the office.
mm. Yeah.
I was not from his point of view ever. He has always, we always discuss strategy. I've always been more of the strategic thinker
Mm,
in some respects. So in terms of his attitude towards me, the I was always have always been respected, listened to, consulted about every aspect of business.
mm,
But other men struggle
mm.
with taking any instruction from me. That was difficult. Um, Listening because they minimize you as a woman.
Yeah.
Back then, these are the men I'm talking about were probably over 40 then.
Mm,
So, I've been called the little girly in the office. Um, so that was a real struggle. And my social conditioning and every woman of my generation's social conditioning of that era was to be a pleaser.
yeah.
Don't come across as being a hard-faced bitch.
Yeah.
Be nice. Be the person that brings the morning tea cake and remembers, the children's names and
Yeah. Yeah.
is the motherly figure.
Yes.
And if you're not that, you're either that or you're in the bitch basket.
Yeah.
There doesn't, for so many men of that generation, there doesn't seem to be a middle road.
No.
And that was tough. Culturally, the site sheds were appalling. The
Oh,
posters they would have in the site sheds.
yeah. Yeah.
So for me, coming out of academia, and because I started to teach during that time, I started to teach at UNSW in the teacher training program, and the culture was a lot further developed in that
Mm,
world.
mm.
It was much more. culturally sensitive. There was a lot more respect
Mm,
for women. And then the next I'd be there for 2 days, and the next 2 days I'd be at Haslin,
mm.
where there was none of that from generally the men on the
Yeah.
sites.
Yeah.
And that's not all of them, but so that was so tricky to negotiate because it was like, well, oh, she's awful, if I ask someone to do something, it would be, oh, they, I think some men have a view of women that is very one-dimensional, and they project that onto you if you're a woman
Mm,
in their
mm,
world.
mm,
And if you, and I think it's their own personal view. A lot of men have a very low opinion of women,
mm, mm,
and they'll project that onto you because
mm,
they're expecting you'll be mean, you won't be supportive of them. Or
mm,
anyway, that's a whole rabbit hole. But so that was interesting. But we pushed on. I think in a sense I would just shake my head sometimes and just I didn't have enough confidence to call a lot of stuff out in the early days.
mm,
Really wish I could go back there now
mm, mm.
because I often think of things and go, well, I didn't have enough confidence. And my story is actually a story of how I gained confidence
Yeah.
over those decades to get to a point where I speak out and up and say, you're wrong, I'm sorry,
Mm,
you've done the wrong thing, or your view, your strategy in this is not good for the business. 20 years ago, I would never have spoken up. I would have sat there and said it in my head.
mm.
Um, so for me, that was the big journey has been about confidence for me. And I guess as the business grew, I guess I focused solely on Haslin from about the early 2000s because it
Mhm.
was getting quite big.
Mm,
And I was juggling a lot of balls, also bringing up two children.
mm.
And as usual with my generation, I did all that because that was
That's what
how it
happened.
was done.
Yeah.
That's so, women, as you would have gleaned from all of your interviews and your own life experience, women's careers go up and down because they have to dip out a bit
Yeah.
and put a lot of energy into children or aging parents,
Yeah.
which is quite a thing as well.
Yeah.
So from the early 2000s, I was just really focusing on Haslin. It was getting substantially bigger. And there we had a lot of regional projects. Our
Mm,
workforce was increasing. We were winning work in rail, water, roads, um, some public space, but not so much then. We also cracked the power sector as well.
mm, mm,
And so I kind of evolved from doing a lot of very admin based stuff, financial stuff, um, to really starting to look at the shape of the business
mm.
and where it could go. We started to realize we had an asset.
Yeah.
In the early days, like we're doing really well, we'd make some money, take the money out of the business and just win more jobs. And at the time, you're in the middle of just trying to win work and deliver
Yeah.
the projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess I started to realize we had to have a bigger picture and we
Yeah.
had to have a more direction. And that's when, as a business, we changed the direction, we rebranded. We had never really paid any attention to marketing or networking. We're like, we deliver great projects, we're very good technically, we've got great engineers. But the industry had also changed.
Mm.
And previously, you bid the work, you put your tender into Public Works, and you used to take them in a folder
Yes.
to the Public Works building
And put it in the tender box.
on the train. I used to go on the train.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then everyone would stand around and they'd come down and do the ceremonial opening of the box.
Opening. Yes.
And they would read out the prices. Lowest price won the work
Yeah.
every time. Contract was awarded on the spot. And that started to change.
Yeah.
They started to have non-price considerations, which relied very heavily on image and your reputation and your branding and your excellence at networking
Mm.
rather than your excellence at engineering.
Mm.
And we had never been good at that. And so we had to change we had to accept the fact that you're not going to win work by just being good at what you do.
Mm.
You've got to walk the walk, talk the talk. You've got to go to the government. Their interactive days and their meetings and their functions,
Mm.
and have to have a brand that's visible. So hence the rebranding.
Mm.
We've
Mm.
got a website. We sounds funny now, got a website. It was like back then it was a
It
thing.
was, well, it was not the done thing back then. So,
It wasn't. And
no.
we photographed all of our old projects because we'd done hundreds of projects by this stage in so many different sectors and all over New South Wales.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, we've got to sell ourselves. We've got to showcase our work. So we did that because we had realized we were starting to miss out on work. We missed a couple of key
Mm.
projects we were low bid and we had all the accreditations, but
Okay.
they were awarded to other companies who were more expensive and didn't have the accreditations.
Hmm.
And we realized that because we weren't as known, our brand wasn't as out there,
Mm.
weren't doing the networking and connecting, taking people for coffee, and they they went, oh no, we like this other company, they seem easier to deal with. So we had a couple of bad years because you're like, oh, what can we do? We're low
Yeah.
bid. We've got a CV as long as your arm in this sector. We've done 20 odd station upgrades. How come we missed that one? So
Mm.
I think the point I'm trying to make is we learned all this.
Mm. You're learning on the go.
Learning on the go all the time and kicking ourselves. Like we should have realized that years ago. What were we thinking? But when your business is ticking along and you're getting enough work,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you're just always just dealing with the business as usual, which is managing the people,
Yeah.
trying to put the right teams together,
Yeah.
improving the safety culture, improving the quality assurance, getting some more diversity into the business.
Mm.
And that is another story. Our first 2009, I engaged the first female to go on a site.
Wow.
So 18 years into the business, her name is Karen, safety officer, and I engaged her and I spoke to the project manager and the construction manager, and they couldn't cope, basically,
Yeah.
could not cope.
Right.
They were
Wow.
horrified. And I've never forgotten it because they said, well, the boys won't be able to speak freely in the site shed. And I'm like, what do they talk about? Just out of interest.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was one objection. And then the other objection was toilets, no toilets. Like, we'll get another toilet, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not that long ago. And the
No.
resistance I had to her to putting her on, and she struggled. Like she struggled with hostility. She was and she found them patronizing
Mm,
towards her. And like I'm talking, this is my business.
mm,
These are people that have worked that I know really, really well. I know
mm,
their wives, I know their families.
mm, mm,
They did not treat her well. Fortunately, with support, and she was pretty tough, she persevered and it was a success story. She left us after a number of years, but because she got a closer to home opportunity.
mm,
But that one woman going onto a site, when I think back, like things have changed for the better, absolutely. But that was interesting. And so that it's been a conscious policy in Haslin to try and get as many women as possible
mm,
into the business. It's a struggle. There aren't that many who want to come into the business. They're not going into engineering particularly,
mm,
which is something through the CCF we're really focusing on, is trying to get a program to go into schools
mm.
and talk to women or young women before they make their uni choices.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's been a focus of ours. And we've found the women that we have engaged, they almost have to be twice as good as everyone else.
Mm,
And they actually are. Well, I have two female engineers that I'm thinking of in our business at the moment. They're outstanding, but
mm.
they have to be extra good to get accepted. So, you
So
know,
how can they overcome that? Because like you've had that when, and this was your business, yours and your husband's business, and you had that resistance all those years ago in the 90s, and then you've had a female safety person come and work for you in 2009 who's had that, and now you've got female engineers who have got a similar thing. So what do you think is needs to happen to be able to stop that from being the norm? Because it should be the
I,
exception, not the norm.
it absolutely, but I feel that these two engineers I'm thinking of, they're much more supported by their project managers
Yeah,
than they would have been a decade ago.
yeah.
And there is a change in thinking, and I think there's a change in thinking in society as well that's starting to filter down.
Mm,
But I would say it's 300% better than it was certainly in the 90s.
mm,
There's been like the improvement is phenomenal. It's like
mm,
it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And I
yeah,
think there's a deep vein of misogyny still in Australian society
mm,
amongst older men. And for an example, the way Julia Gillard was treated.
mm,
And I'm betting they'll do the same to Susan Lee. That exists and there's no getting away from that. And as a woman in a male-dominated industry, there is all, at least while maybe the next generation will be different,
yeah,
but there is still that discomfort that you feel in a man's world
mm,
when you suspect some of them are hostile towards you or they're going to patronize you
mm,
or diminish you in some way that your opinion is not as valuable. And I think as women, that's something we all experience in a room with men in an industry that's male dominated.
mm,
That and it's not all men. I've got a theory that men that resent women or don't accept them as equals or as valuable, they're men that are just so mediocre. They're men that don't have anything to recommend them except the fact that of their chromosomes.
mm.
And that in their whole life has given them something to be superior about.
Mm,
That, but they don't have any other talent. And my experience has been intelligent men with sound values, they they think women are absolutely brilliant and are a huge asset
mm,
and would value them more highly than other men. So just do you see what I mean? It's like for me,
mm,
it's a bit of an IQ test. I
mm,
find if I encounter a man in our business or on a board or in some other arena who is belittling to me because I'm female and you the token female, I've had that said to me so many times. I'm like, okay, that's you've just failed your IQ test
mm, mm. So
because,
how do you navigate that? And especially, like you said that all those years ago that you'd just stay quiet, but now you call it out. So particularly in the positions that you've got now with sitting on national boards and things, how do you actually respectfully call it out?
well, I've learnt to live with a degree of discomfort in a room, in that scenario, that
Mm,
I feel not the odd one out, but usually am the odd one out.
mm,
There's a level of discomfort, but I think all women feel a level of discomfort with men in that the male gaze, our whole lives, we have the male gaze on us, assessing us
mm,
in terms of how attractive we are. And there's no getting away from that. It's a reality.
mm,
Um, and that there's a level of discomfort for all women that they're being appraised by men.
mm,
And I guess we've all grown up. That's life, you know. Did some offshore sailing many years ago, and in that world, if you're a female crew, you're either deck jewelry or you're the cook. So, well, a woman turns up, she's assigned to a crew on a race. They will tell her which one she is. That's
mm,
now. That if you have some sexual appeal, if your clothes are tight enough or you project some sexual capital, you'll be deck jewelry and they'll give you a job on deck so they can the male gaze again, so it can rest on you. Or otherwise you're a cook, which means you have to go down below and feed people and put up with the boat pitching. And is that ever going to change? I don't know. But
mm,
there is an element of, and all women feel judged by men
mm, mm.
in some way.
Subconsciously. Yeah, it happens very subconsciously, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
As when I was younger, I found it more difficult. Like,
yeah,
for example, I wouldn't call a colleague from another company to arrange a meeting to look at JV opportunities because you wouldn't do that. Is he going to think I'm trying to crack onto him? And likewise, they wouldn't call me. As I've gotten older and more confident and gotten to know a lot of the men I interact with a lot better,
mm, mm,
I do it now.
yeah,
But as a younger woman, it was like, oh, this is tricky. I
yeah,
can't sort of do this networking or whatever.
yeah,
But I think the discomfort of being the only female in a room, I just think that's something I've had to learn to accept that
mm,
I'm going to feel like that and try and deal with it with some kind of humor or as far as calling it out, I think I gained a lot of confidence in life from some of the other things I've done, and that's helped me back myself more in a business sense. I
mm,
didn't get the confidence from being in an industry full of men who didn't. who didn't really make me feel that valued apart from the key one I was married to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But having that sense of the other men around didn't really want you there because you might say something, give them some feedback they don't like. And while it's okay for a man to do that, it doesn't seem to be okay for a woman.
yeah.
But I did some really hard physical challenges. I got into racing Ironman in my 50s
Oh, wow.
and doing really hard stuff
Yeah.
really gives you resilience.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And I learned to back myself
yeah.
through doing Ironman, not by trying to assert myself more in the business world. I got the confidence from challenging myself
Mm,
and doing stuff I did not think I could do and achieving it and
mm.
I really achieved it. Like
Mm.
I did amazingly. I got to 4 world championships
Wow.
and that actually changed me entirely.
Yeah.
It made
Yeah.
me feel like I could take up more space in the room,
Yeah.
that I could call out people,
Yeah.
that I'd done some things that were so hard. Sitting in a room feeling a little skin crawly because I'm the only woman didn't seem so bad.
Yeah.
So I think doing really hard shit,
Yeah. It helps
it,
you grow.
yeah, totally. And it just seems odd, but that my whole attitude and approach to people changed rather than feeling if spoke up in a meeting, worrying about it later, saying, oh, everyone just looked at me. Was that a stupid thing I said?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it wasn't a stupid thing. I
Yeah.
learnt to have more faith in my own judgment
Yeah.
because the achievement, like finishing my first Ironman at 54, was next level. That transformed my confidence, and I went on to do 6 more. And
Wow. It's giving you that belief in yourself that you can do something hard as well. And you pushed yourself, and it's that mental challenge, and that it's not just the mental, it's the physical challenge as well to just keep going, keep going, keep going. And it's amazing how that can then adopt into your work life as well, like where you're in an environment where it's not easy, but you can actually take that mindset and that resilience and that just keep going attitude with you to be able to deal with all the issues on the work front.
absolutely, and I can't emphasize enough how transformative
Yeah,
doing something like that, whether it's a hike or even
yeah,
whatever it is,
yes,
it really, once you do something so hard that you didn't think you could ever do,
yeah,
and you actually do it and knock it out of the park, it's like, and someone in a meeting might challenge me about something, and I'd think in my head, mate, I finished an Ironman last week. What did you do?
But it does, like I hike as well. So, for me, like hiking and you're climbing mountains and, you're sitting there and you're having a little bit of a bitch session as you're going up a hill with a backpack because it's like, oh my gosh, when is this ever going to end? And then you get to the top and you see the views and it's just incredible. It's like, yeah, wow, this was worth it. I'm glad I pushed myself and I got through. And then that's what I said, like that mindset comes over to when you're actually just working and you can go, no, well, if I can climb a mountain, I can do this. Like it's possible. So, yeah.
Absolutely, the discomfort and
Oh,
the
everything.
tough things, it really invigorates you, and
Yeah. Yes, I
and
agree.
you don't get that from working in a male-dominated arena. You don't get the reinforcement from because men aren't great at saying, "Oh, you did a great job there," or
Yeah. Yeah.
you need to you need to get your self-esteem
You need
often
to,
elsewhere.
correct. Yeah. You need that self-appreciation and that self-value as well that you're capable and that you can do it. So what I'd love to find out from you, Gladys, is what would you like to see for the industry moving forward, given you've got, like all these decades in the industry, more than 35 years in the industry. And for the industry moving forward, what would you like to see?
There's an in, I guess, an increase in the trajectory that is just starting.
Hmm.
There is starting to be some culture change. There's there's starting to be more level of comfort with women in the site sheds, in the offices. There needs to be a rethink about working hours.
Hmm.
There needs to be a little bit of flexibility, and I know a lot of men in the industry find that anathema, but if we want to get more women into the industry, there's got to be flexibility and flexibility for men as well, because these days men and women both minding the kids.
Hmm. That's right.
So I would really like more government programs to go into schools and talk to young women and show them the opportunities
Hmm.
because they're not coming into the industry. The numbers are still really poor in
Hmm.
civil, particularly in our space. It's 5 or 6%. And if you took out the traffic controllers,
Hmm.
it's still pretty appalling.
Yeah.
So I think we've got to reshape the industry. Hopefully, society, the younger generations are next level.
Yeah.
They're so much more evolved than we were.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few alarming trends, like the whole sexualization of women on social media. I think that's setting the clock back.
Hmm.
Yeah. But hopefully the younger generations won't, they'll go a different way, hopefully.
Hmm.
I have read that the kids that are coming out of high school now are now wearing baggier clothes. They're not feeling like they have to be sexualized as much, that
Hmm.
there could be more equality. But I think we've got to get into schools and we've got to get more women and more diverse people from diverse ethnic backgrounds, Indigenous backgrounds into the industry because it's a fantastic industry. It attracts people with get up and go. It attracts
Hmm.
risk takers.
Hmm.
Because the rewards are good
Yeah.
in construction, and we're building this country. We've got to get on the back of the energy transition, and we need good people to come in and help drive the industry and make it one of the greatest sectors in the country, which it can be.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
already, yeah, it's a fantastic, and there are issues, there are culture problems in terms of attitudes to women. But as I said before, the really good men are really good
Yeah.
and meant them as they can be fantastic mentors as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the industry can be fantastic, but we've got a lot of work to do.
I agree. I agree. There is a lot of work to do, but for me, that means there's a lot of opportunity as well. So, in closing, what I'd love to ask you, which is something I ask everyone at the end, is that if you had someone standing in front of you and there was some advice, some Gladys advice or some Gladys words of wisdom that you could pass on to them, that it's just like, if ever I had someone standing in front of me, I'd love to, just sort of impart this knowledge with them. What would Gladys's advice be to them?
Okay, find mentors.
Yes.
Can I say more than one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
Do hard stuff to toughen yourself up.
Yeah.
Take on a hard challenge or hard challenges. Be a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Go and learn new things, do a course, expand your repertoire. And when you feel discomfort and you're out of your comfort zone, it's actually a really good thing
Mm,
because it means you're growing.
correct. Yeah. And it's outside when you're outside of your circle, which is out of your comfort zone, that's when you can grow and your circle actually gets bigger as well. So
Absolutely.
No, I love that. That's awesome, Gladys. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for all your knowledge and wisdom and all the years of service you've given to this industry and what you're still doing now as far as with sitting on boards and, helping the next generation as well. Really appreciate everything you're doing to give back and everything you're doing for the people in the industry as well. So thank you for your contributions.
Oh, thank you. I hope I didn't go off on too many tangents, but it's how the mind works sometimes.
No, it was great. It was great. We really appreciate your time and all your knowledge and wisdom and sharing it with us. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, and I hope we talk again soon, Angela.
We will. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. I hope this conversation gave you something that you can take with you, whether it be a little bit of insight, inspiration, or maybe just a reminder that you're not alone. If it resonated with you, please share because we're better when we help build each other up. And remember that your experience, your story, and your journey, it all matters more than you know. Until next time, stay kind, stay connected, and never forget you are epic.